Chapter 4. The Secret Agreement Between an Officer and a Gentleman. Chief Obajimi Owolowo, on his release from prison and before he was flown to Lasgidi to meet General Wongo, was driven straight to a secret meeting with Lieutenant Colonel Ojukwu. The two men had a long history from way back when Chief Owolowo was the premier of the Yorubawa region, and they had tremendous respect for each other. Both Lieutenant Colonel Ojukwu and Chief Owolowo were highly respected visionaries who had grand visions for the new Muguland Republic. One was an officer in the army and the other was a gentleman of the bar. But they were both well-read, highly cerebral and deeply philosophical on the issues of the new Muguland nation. Still, the events that were rapidly unfolding in the nation made everyone wary and suspicious of the motives of all others. As Chief Owolowo was being driven to the meeting with Lieutenant Colonel Ojukwu, he could not help but wonder what tricks the wily, ever-unsmiling soldier had up his sleeve, or if he was even going to make it out alive from that meeting. After all, Lieutenant Colonel Ojukwu is reputed to have a volcanic temper when things were not going his way. Ever the philosophic man, Chief Owolowo shook his head, settled back in his chair and said to himself, "I will find out soon enough what he wants from me." Chief Owolowo arrived at Lieutenant Colonel Ojukwu's home, and they settled into a private room to talk. The air was thick with tension, but both men were determined to put their mutual suspicions aside and discuss serious matters of state on each other's mind. After the usual African pleasantries, an offer of kola nuts and palm wine, which his guest graciously accepted, though Owolowo was a known teetotaler, Lieutenant Colonel Ojukwu opened up. "Chief Owolowo, I know we have had our differences in the past," Lieutenant Colonel Ojukwu began, "but I believe that we can work together to bring about a better Muguland." Lieutenant Colonel Ojukwu then went on to explain his misgivings about the current situation in Muguland and how many of his tribal brothers have been murdered by General Wongo in retaliation for the first coup and counter-coup that killed many Awosa officers. He explained that his kinsmen were also being killed in Awosa region with the tacit permission of the federal government in Lasgidi. He also mentioned that General Wongo was not the most senior officer in the military and should not have been made the head of state by new coup plotters. He freely admitted he was having problems respecting and accepting the authority of the new head of state who was junior to him at the academy. Chief Owolowo listened carefully as Lieutenant Colonel Ojukwu vented his grievances, and then outlined his plan to take the Okorobians out of Muguland to form their own country, if General Wongo continued to do nothing while his people were being annihilated. Ojukwu said he wanted to see a Muguland that was united and strong, but he also understood the concerns of his Okorobian people. He pointedly told Chief Owolowo that it appeared to him that a secession was inevitable if things continued to spiral as they were, with his people being slaughtered up and down the new nation. When Lieutenant Colonel Ojukwu was done, Chief Owolowo empathized with his concerns and agreed that something had to be done, or the Okorobians would be justified in leaving the Union to found their own country. He acknowledged that as a Democrat himself who believed in the concept of one Muguland, as long as there was fairness and equity, he also believed that people deserved to decide their own destiny if they were no longer satisfied with the status quo. Chief Owolowo then went further to say, "If the Okorobians were forced to secede, then I may also be forced to take the Yorubawas out of the Muguland Union." Chief Owolowo then concluded on a positive tone, "But I hope that it doesn't come to that. I still believe we can all find a way to remain together as one nation." Lieutenant Colonel Ojukwu was taken aback by Chief Owolowo's words. While he was hopeful that Chief Owolowo would be sympathetic to the travails of the Okorobians, he had not expected he would indicate his willingness to also take the Yorubawas out of the Union, if push comes to shove. He had always seen Owolowo as a formidable political adversary, but now he saw a man who was willing to put fairness for all tribes and the interests of Muguland above his own ambitions. "Thank you, Chief," Lieutenant Colonel Ojukwu said, after he recovered from his shock at the candid words of Chief Owolowo. "I appreciate your honesty and your willingness to work with us. We will do everything in our power to avoid secession, but it's good to know that we have your support." Before ending the meeting, Chief Awolowo also made it clear that he could not make any firm commitment on the position of the Yorubawas on the issue of possible secession at that time, since he was just coming out of prison. He told Ojukwu, "General, as you know, everything is still in a state of flux for me, and I would continue to revise my position and the position of the Yorubawas as things continue to develop in the nation, and as I meet with all the other leaders and stakeholders in the Yorubawa land. You know, I cannot decide anything without the agreement of my people." Lieutenant Colonel Ojukwu nodded that he understood perfectly and that Chief Awolowo is not giving any binding commitment to any course of action the Okorobians may take. With that, the two men shook hands, ending the meeting. Chief Awolowo left feeling hopeful that they could find a way to move forward together. But as the weeks passed, it became clear to Lieutenant Colonel Ojukwu that Chief Awolowo had no intention of moving his people in the direction of secession, as he had hoped or assumed. While Ojukwu continued to escalate his rhetoric of secession for the Okorobians as an option, Chief Awolowo continued to speak about the importance of a strong, united Muguland nation. In the end, the Yorubawas refused to support the Okorobian cause, and the Okorobian region ended up going the secession road alone, with tragic consequences for them and the whole nation. While Lieutenant Colonel Ojukwu himself never held the ultimate refusal of the Yorubawas to declare their own secession after he declared the Republic of Okorobia against Chief Awolowo, news of that gentleman's discussion filtered out, and many Okorobians felt betrayed by the Yorubawas. Chief Awolowo himself never felt obligated to honor the secret officer and a gentleman agreement, because he never felt he had made any commitment to support the Okorobians in their secession bid. As far as he was concerned, there was no agreement to jointly secede. It was just a probing discussion with nothing agreed upon, either formally or informally as a gentleman's agreement. Over the years, the debate on what really happened at that secret meeting persisted, and the Okorobians never trusted Chief Awolowo and the Yorubawas again, especially when Chief Awolowo later joined the Council of War of the Muguland nation and played a vital role as the brilliant Commissioner for Finance who introduced several policies that crippled the Okorobia economy and ultimately led to the failure of their secession attempt.